Hello and welcome to Newswire. I'm Jawad Tehami. Many parts of the world are under lockdown to defeat humanity's common enemy, the coronavirus. But the so-called largest democracy in the world, India, considers Kashmiris and Pakistan a bigger enemy than the coronavirus. Rather than focusing on fighting the pandemic, the BJP-led government in India is meting out even the worst treatment to the subjugated Kashmiris than before by using them as human shields. As the COVID-19 threat looms large over the occupied valley, Kashmir reels under continuous curfew and the complete communication blackout for the last 254 days. At the same time, Indian forces are resorting to unprovoked ceasefire violations along the border with Pakistan. Innocent civilians at the Pakistan side of LOC are losing lives, which are deliberately being targeted by the Indian forces fighting. In India, is India's brutality in Kashmir and its madness at the LOC getting out of control? To talk more about this, we are joined by Mr. Qureshi, Chairman Kashmir Campaign Global from London. Thank you very much for your time and being part of the Newswire today. What do you think, according to India, let's start with the perspective of India, which is the bigger enemy, coronavirus or Kashmiris and Pakistan?
Clearly, as orchestrated by the BJP government, their current threat seems to be more in Pakistan and the people of Kashmir than the coronavirus. The way the BJP government is currently handling the situation, they're more focused on killing the innocent people of Kashmir and both sides of ceasefire line, rather than actually focusing on how they can protect and increase the safety of the people of Kashmir. Their more focus is on deployment more armed forces to the civilian hands and using them as human shields, rather than actually providing basic facilities to save the lives of.
So this current attitude by Indian government led by BJP and its forces, particularly in Kashmir and the line of control, does it owe to the Hindu supremacist ideology?
Clearly, BJP is a part of the RSS, Hindu supremacy, and what they are trying to do is change the demography of Kashmir by increasing the influx of the non-Muslims. They see Kashmir as a Muslim state, which they see as a threat to their Hindu supremacy. And one of the key goals that they want to achieve, and we recently heard that the BJP government introduced the domicile law to make it easier for the non-residents of Kashmir, especially the Hindu majority, to come into Kashmir, take over, occupy the lands, buy land, and as well as take economical rights of the people of Kashmir from them. There's definitely a benefit here, not just for the Kashmiris or the people of India, but for the whole world. We have seen this happening in the past through the Nazist government. What we see now, a repeat of the history starting from India, where they claim to be the Hindu supremacy.
Mr. Qureshi, you're aware that these type of patterns have been are being repeated, as we have seen such type of things happening in the past, particularly in the case of the Nazi Germany. And that is exactly the point Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has been consistently alluding to, especially after the revocation of Article 370, and urged the international community to take cognizance of this thing which is happening from the BJP-led government in India. Do you think this Hindu supremacist ideology has created a large-scale paranoia, and which is at the root of the Indian subconscious that is at the play at this moment?
I don't think it's a paranoia. I think we need to look at the reality and the facts, the way the minority in India, not just in Kashmir, the minorities in India are treated by the current government. It is not just the Muslims that are under the threat, but you see the other minorities such as Dalits, such as Christians. They are, yes, on one side what we see is the target focus is the Muslims within the Indian subcontinent, but I really don't believe that it's a paranoia. It is a fact. And when we look at what happened during the Nazis regime, it was a similar tactic where they used and they started
Okay, Mr. Qureshi, I'll come back to you with a very similar point. For now, we are joined by Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodi. So thank you for your time at Newswire. We have seen consistently the Indian forces are resorting to ceasefire violations at the line of control and the working boundary, especially over the last couple of days. And the way they are meting out the treatment to the innocent Kashmiris amid COVID-19. What do you have to say about this?
Thank you very much. I think this attitude, Indian attitude, has gone far too long, and especially since Modi has taken over. In my own opinion, they are moving according to a certain plan, and coronavirus or no coronavirus, they are not paying any attention to that. And look at their, baseless and ridiculous thing that, according to them, Pakistan is trying to make some ingresses through Nepal and all that. People cannot move nowadays. Nobody can move an inch, and they are putting such allegations. So, in my opinion, they are just upping the ante, and they are trying to escalate the things to a level so that we get used to this sort of medicine, so that it becomes a new normal for us, and then they escalate it inch further and inch further. So this is a part of their plan. So I would suggest that instead of saying that we will defend every inch of Pakistan and Azad Kashmir, we should say that any mischief by India will be met by us through offensive means, and we will have the rights to then cross LOC and ask the Kashmiri brothers in Azad Kashmir, whatever the way they want to help their Kashmiri brothers in the Indian occupied Kashmir, they should be allowed to do that. Only then probably they will come to their senses, because they are very sure that we will not do anything across the border, across LOC. Therefore, they are doing it, at their own will. Although I'm quite certain that they will not go for all-out offensive in Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan for some time. Ultimately, they will do that also. They will probably wait till the American elections start, so that the world cannot give attention, and they acquire the Rafale aircrafts, they acquire S-400 anti-ballistic missile systems. Then probably they will undertake whatever they have said. Why I say that? Because from elections onwards, whatever they promised to their people, whatever they have said about Kashmir, about Pakistan, they have been doing it. So we should not take it, as a distraction of some kind of some other, thing that why they are doing all this. They are doing it all according to a plan to assimilate Kashmir.
General Lodi, that's why when we talk particularly about Kashmir and when it comes to the Pakistan forces' response, as you have just mentioned, that Pakistan should actually respond befittingly, which we have seen Pakistan have responded befittingly on the ground, but that response has been calculated and very well calibrated. And because of that, perhaps the Indian forces have tried to take the advantage of this situation and are making innocent Kashmiris as human shields.
Right. So I agree with you. I think now we should go to effective plus, befitting plus responses. And befitting is not, giving the desired results. So I agree with you, and that is the point that I am making, that probably we'll have to bring in some offensive spirit in our narrative, in our media, and also practically on ground.
So, General Lodi, I just want to talk about this sort of a mindset when Indian forces are making the innocent Kashmiris as human shields. We are living in 21st century. What kind of a mindset is this one when there are human rights organizations continuously raising alarm over the treatment which is being meted out to Kashmiris? And now, rather than providing adequate and appropriate medical facilities to the Kashmiris as the COVID-19 threat looms large, Kashmiris are being made as human shields. So what kind of a mindset is this?
All right. Except for these some human rights related organizations and a few Muslim countries which can be counted on fingertips, nobody has actually really admonished India for what they are doing, and that has given them real incentive to keep doing the same more. So I think that is why I always say that if the attitude of Modi and his government can only be changed if Kashmiris want to change it. And I think the Charter of UN allows you to do that. wherever there are occupation forces and they try to subdue a population, even other countries are allowed to provide them material aid so that they can defend themselves. And we have all the right, and otherwise also, whatever India is doing to us for the last so many years, and I need not go into details, we have all the right to do the same to them, if not more.
Okay, General Lodi, I will come back to this point. Mr. Qureshi, as General Lodi has just mentioned, that this is the time ripe for Pakistanis and Kashmiris to respond offensively to the Indian aggression and its brutalities. But there has been phenomenal rise of number of troops in the occupied valley after the revocation of Article 370. Do you think Kashmiris would be in a position to confront physically such a huge number of troops in the occupied valley? Wouldn't there be any threat of a huge loss of life there?
Kashmiris have been confronting this threat for the last 70 years, right? Especially for the last 30 years. We, the people of Kashmir, have been defending our land with whatever we can, whether it's rocks or whether it's sticks or stones or whether through our voices. I think it is really undermining statement that they're a threat. The reality is the Indian occupied Kashmir has been in for the last 30 years. We have lost over 100,000 lives. Years, we've given over 500,000 lives. So a war is nothing new to us. We are being killed every day. And as General rightly said, we have the right to our land. But unfortunately, what we lack is the right resources and the right support to fight to defend our land and to defend our honor and our right to self-determination. India is not willing to negotiate. It is not willing to talk. We have tried every diplomatic tactic. What we have not tried is try to be really offensive and make moves or do something that is tangible, practical, that will help to resolve the issue of Kashmir.
Something tangible needs to be done. Mr. Qureshi, General, at this point in time, when the entire world is in the grip of COVID-19, do you think there is any room for the international community and the United Nations in particular that they could do something about these new provocations from the Indian side?
You know, the answer is simple, that once there was opportunity and room to do something, they did nothing. So now, under the circumstances, naturally the answer is a big no. They have no interest and they have no room to actually do anything about it. So that is one of the factors that Indians are taking advantage of. They already, they attracted nothing bad as far as whatever they were doing earlier, and now it is impossible that somebody will come to the rescue of Kashmir except for Pakistan. And one thing I must like to add is that all the assessment shows, and this can be discussed later on someday, that if India has to attack Azad Kashmir and come for Gilgit-Baltistan, not only for the reason, for the Indian reason, but also for some other grand reasons. I'm talking about CPAC and other things. So why do we wait and why do we allow them to choose a time and place of their liking? You know, after some time, they will receive the Rafale aircrafts. After some time, they will receive anti-ballistic missile S-400. They are also receiving some, naval vessels. So actually, they just want you to remain inactive for the next 6-7 months, and then they will come for us. So why do we wait? If it is inevitable, let us do it at a time and place of our choosing.
Okay. Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodi, thank you for your time at Newswire. Now we are joined by Lieutenant General Ghulam Mustafa, analyst, joining us from Lahore. Thank you for your time. We are discussing the Indian aggression not only on the line of control and the working boundary, but its inhumane treatment, which is it is meting out to the Kashmiris by making them human shields. What do you have to say about this?
This has been going on now for over 6 months plus, which is tragic because Pakistan was hoping that the international community, the world's conscious, will wake up one day and they'll start pushing India back and try to get Kashmir what is rightfully theirs. But unfortunately, that has not happened, and that is not going to happen. It's not going to happen because India has decided on a different course, while Pakistan is trying on a different course. India, by locking down the Kashmiris gave a very clear message. We refuse to listen to that. And I've been saying right from day one that what is happening in Srinagar and those young kids, girls and boys and old people dying there actually are fighting Pakistan's battle. Pakistan can fight it now, Pakistan can fight it 6 months down the road. There is a war inevitable, and that has to happen. And I've been saying it right from day one. Pakistan has one option only, to choose the time, the place, and the manner of the battle in which this battle is going to be fought. Well, if you don't fight...
General Ghulam Mustafa, that is actually the point which was actually mentioned by and raised continuously by Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan, especially since the revocation of Article 370 about the Indian overtures. And now as the whole world is in the grip of COVID-19, we see this aggression happening at LOC as well as within Kashmir, not only two of these areas, but within India, Muslims are being targeted very badly.
And one thing more that I've been trying to emphasize, so that is this Brahman Zionism which is at work right now. And that is being played out right in front of everybody. The world understands what is happening, but they will not respond, or they will not do anything about it because it suits them. It suits everybody that Muslims at this point in time, whether in India or in Pakistan or in Kashmir or elsewhere, they have to be pushed back to the wall and they have to be brought to their knees. And that is what is happening now. That is as it may be, but what do we do now? As of now, because of this coronavirus lockdown, which is all across the world, more or less, the Indians are hoping to get as many Kashmiris buried right there as is possible. That has been their I would say, aim right from day one. Cut down Kashmiris down to a point where there is no Kashmiri in Kashmir. There are only Indians there. The main problem is, what is Pakistan up to? What is Pakistan, what is our policy about it? I understand that we are economically weak and this coronavirus lockdown has put us back further. But, and I say this with very clear mind, that if we want to save your economy, like the Prime Minister told the world in UN, that you want to save your economy, the economy is going down anyways. And we didn't want to support the Kashmiris because we wanted to build up our economy. Now our economy is going down, the Kashmiris are going down, and they are coming for Pakistan. Pakistan has now only one option: stand up for it. Stand up for it, for God's sake, right now. We have the time. If we are locked down, the Indians are locked down too. If they are firing across the line of control, there are 230 ways that we can skin Indian cat.
General Mustafa, that is why perhaps Pakistan had been responding, but very calculated grounds and in a very calibrated way. Perhaps that is exactly what they are trying to take advantage of, making Kashmiris the human shields, because whenever Pakistani troops or the forces they specifically target the Indian posts, which renders a huge blow to the troops across the line of control. That's why perhaps they are resorting to making the Kashmiris the human shield.
What they've done is that over the years, and this I know it from 90s onwards because I've been there, they have removed all Hindus within 5 to 7 kilometers of the barbed wire that erected, the line of control that per se. And they removed them away. And they're giving them someplace else to settle down. And Hindus were, in any case, very limited in this region that we are talking about. They have put Muslims there. And they know that Pakistan has this compulsion not to fire indiscriminately so that Muslims don't get hurt. But Indians don't care less. They will resort to firing by bringing the Muslims out in their open so that Pakistan doesn't respond. Pakistan has to respond. Pakistan has to respond. And Pakistan has to fight its own battle. Right from day one, I've been on this, that Pakistan is alone in this game. Nobody will come to your rescue. International powers to be can sort out their own differences, whether it is in the east or in the west. They can sort out their own minor differences because for them, economy matters. For them, there are other issues that they can settle down. But Pakistan cannot compromise on its sovereignty, on its existence. Pakistan, remember, is Pakistan's battle or existence.
Pakistan cannot make any sort of a compromise regarding its sovereignty. General Mustafa, when we particularly talk about the plight of the detainees in various prisons across India, there are reports, there are precarious conditions in those jails and they are overcrowded. Amid COVID-19 pandemic, the human rights groups and the United Nations have urged for releasing many of the vulnerable detainees, and particularly those which have been detained without a charge or any sort of indictment or any particular trial. So what kind of plight at the moment these particular Kashmiri detainees would be going through in those prisons?
They are just waiting to die.
So what exactly, other than just urging India to release them, the vulnerable detainees, is there any sort of a practical measure the United Nations at this point, specifically, point in time, can do?
Of course, United Nations can do a lot. United Nations can get its own Security Council in action, give them the facts of life as it exists in India, whether in Assam or elsewhere, where these camps which have been erected just to bring up these young Kashmiris and re-educate them per se. United Nations can do a lot. If those five powers, so-called powers, get together and they have told India, they tell India to back off, India will back off, because India also needs support internationally.
Okay. Lieutenant retired Ghulam Mustafa, analyst, joining us from Lahore. Thank you very much for your time at Newswire. And Mr. Zaffar, Qureshi, analyst and chairman of Kashmir Campaign Global, joined us from London. Thank you for your time as well on Newswire. With this, we come to the end of the first segment. In the second segment, we'll discuss how Muslims are being targeted in India for allegedly spreading the coronavirus. But after a short break, stay tuned. Welcome back to Newswire. I'm Jawad Tehami. India has the second largest population in the world and claims to be the biggest democracy. It houses 1.3 billion people, out of which 200 million are Muslims. After the Bharatiya Janata Party was re-elected in 2019, its Hindu supremacist ideology, Hindutva, has made the life of Muslims miserable in the country. Muslims who were already under attack by Hindu nationalist forces are now being targeted for another reason: the coronavirus. Muslims all across the country are being accused, harassed, and attacked for allegedly spreading the deadly virus. A missionary congregation, the Tablighi Jamaat, has specifically been targeted. A sinister media campaign is adding fuel to fire by inciting hatred against Muslims. Islamophobic hashtags such as Corona Jihad can be seen as ridiculing and aimed at alienating Muslims. Is the BJP-led government in India scapegoating Muslims for its laxity in response to the outbreak? To talk more about the worsening situation of Muslims in India, we are joined by Mr. Ravi, Srivastav, analyst from Mumbai, and Dr. Tasleem Ahmed Rehmani, President of Muslim Political Council of India from Delhi. Thank you both of you for your time. I will begin with you, Dr. Rehmani. What kind of hardships are Muslims in India facing amid the COVID-19 outbreak?
You see, COVID is affecting all the Hindus, Muslims, Sikh, Isai, all over the country. It's not just that the Muslim. But, you know, the kind of government we are having since for last 6 years, they are, as you said in your report, that it's a Hindu fanatic government, which do not believe in the Indian secularism and Indian democratic values much. So they always need a pretext or to pretend like that they are the nationalist and all other, like even my friend, rather I will say my brother Ravi is sitting by your side. Even he is not an Indian nationalist. So,
Dr. Rehmani, please stay with us. I'll go to Mr. Srivastav now. Mr. Srivastav, coronavirus fears and religious tension were already at a fever pitch in India. And it didn't take that long for the two forces to intermingle. Why are Muslims being specifically targeted for allegedly spreading the coronavirus in India?
Mr. Tehami, let me tell you that as regards coronavirus in India, there was a joke moving on social media. People were saying that the virus, which was originated, generated somewhere in China, traveled to Europe, traveled to US, and when it came to India, it became Muslim. It was such a funny thing that people were identified, those people, some Tablighi Jamaat people who attended a markaz in Delhi, and when they went back to their places, it was, the national media kept on publicizing that those were the people who were spreading coronavirus in India. And those people, I would call, they were victims. They were made villains. Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, and other places were perhaps infected, and they infected the other people also who were attending the Jamaat meeting there in Delhi. And the government of India, which as of 13th March was calling there is no medical emergency in the country, all of a sudden was caught off guard, and they started blaming a particular community for spreading the virus. So much so that the national media kept on projecting that 1/3 of the cases in India are due to the Tablighi Jamaat people who have spread across the nation. It was such an unfortunate thing. Luckily, the good sense prevailed, and the fact came to the fore that those were actually victims and not the villains. And a particular community, the Muslim community, was branded as anti-nationalist, that even in the time of the crisis, such a critical situation when the whole nation was suffering, they tried to make it a communal issue. They created a further divide between Hindu and Muslims. So much so that the whole these markers, which happened just 50 meters from the police station in the Delhi's Nizamuddin, in the heart of the country, and the government did not know that the people who had come from abroad on a tourist visa and all those people, they were not quarantined, they were not isolated, and suddenly the whole Markaz place was evacuated on 29th and 30th of March. And the Maulana Saad, who was the organizer of the event, is not in sight anywhere till date. It is said that he met the India's national security advisor, and after that he went on some kind of a hiding. So the situation is such that it was made a full-fledged communal issue, and there were skirmishes, there were attacks on Muslims across the country because of this reason, that they were telling that all those who were attending that Jamaat were the people who were carrying this virus, and they are spreading it to others.
Mr. Srivastav, you have just mentioned you have made just a very startling revelation that the leader of the Tablighi Jamaat congregation, who was heading that event in Nizamuddin in Delhi, after meeting the National Security Advisor, perhaps you have said that, he has gone missing.
Exactly. I said he's gone missing. He's not traceable to anybody. You get some kind of messages from him, and he claims that he is under some kind of a quarantine or isolation, but he is not on surfacing anywhere. So what I want to tell you is that it is the government in India is so much of biased. Everything here, they associated even such a deadly virus also. They did not even think that those who will be carrying the virus will also be infected, and they are equally vulnerable for this disease.
So, Mr. Srivastav, when it comes to the proposal of this particular ideology, or particularly when you specifically talk about the Indian government, which is led by BJP, so this anti-Muslim sentiment in those proponents and the people sitting at the helm of affairs in India, led by BJP, had been for quite a long time that the idea that Muslims themselves are a kind of infection in the body politics. Do you think this spread of the virus is being connected to that anti-Muslim sentiment?
Absolutely, you are right. It is just any incident which takes place, they fan this kind of a thing. On the contrary, the leaders who are at the helm of the affairs in the government of India, or the ruling party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, should have diffused this kind of a news or this kind of an information. But instead they were fanning it, and fanning to such an extent that it was made out as if those people are creating they are carrying the virus and they are spreading it in the length and breadth of the country. Those Zamati, they had come from the places, they traveled by trains to various places. Those train passengers were identified. Those people were isolated. Even till today, India has seen some more than 10,000 cases of the virus infection. But luckily, I think that particular sentiment has now been doused, and nobody is attributing that the particular community was spreading the virus in India. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Rehmani, as Mr. Srivastav has made such a startling revelation that the head of the Tablighi Jamaat congregation, who was heading that event in Nizamuddin, Delhi, when he met the National Security Advisor, he went missing. Why do you think that Tablighi Jamaat has been particularly targeted? Because what Tablighi Jamaat people say is that they were permitted officially to carry on with the event.
You see, they were permitted, and one more thing is that within that markaz, always the IV people and the special branch people, the investigating agency salutes, they are always present in the shift, all the 24 hours they are present, and they keep on reporting. So it was quite aware by the government agencies and the Home Ministry of India that how many people are there inside. Even the local police station was aware. The walls of the mosque and the police station are adjacent to each other. So they were all aware. They allowed it. They wanted it. From the lockdown date of 25th March to the 30th March, they were aware. They didn't try to talk to them. They didn't try to evacuate them. So they gave them a lodge themselves to conduct and to remain inside, and then to label. It was all pre-planned, and that's why on 28th of March, Mr. Doval has, it is said that in the night, at 2 a.m., he met with Maulana Saad. And just the day before yesterday, some Delhi police official has said in a press conference that Maulana Saad is in quarantine in the Zakir Nagar area of the East Delhi. So if they are aware, and they did not make the cases so as he can be arrested, there are all bailable charges. He can get the bail even at home. But the media is opposing it, and the government is silent about it. Even the Supreme Court of India did not hear the case. Yesterday there was a petition to stop the media to spread such kind of hatred, but the Supreme Court has given two weeks more time. So this is the condition where one particular level, because the people of Tablighi, they keep on roaming around around whole country.
Dr. Rehmani, isn't it, I think, at the same time when Indian government and authorities are targeting Tablighi Jamaat and the Muslim community in particular, there were certain congregations which were in which hundreds of Hindus participated. They were found in a certain congregation where hundreds of thousands of Hindus were performing, and there were certain other congregations which were happening on the part of Hindus. But when the other communities, it's not whether Hindus or Sikhs or other communities are carrying out with their congregations, when others are carrying out their congregations, why specifically Muslims are being targeted and ridiculed, not by the government and the authorities, but also a sinister media campaign seems to be underway on the mainstream channels of India?
You see, on 25th March itself, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh has conducted a ceremony at Ayodhya for the shifting of the Rama idol from from one place to the other place, and hundreds of people gathered over there. On 25th March, the first day, very first day of the countrywide lockdown. Then on 10th of this April, a deputy mayor of the Surat city, who is a Jain and BJP member belonging to the Jain community, he conducted a religious congregation which was attended more than 1,000 people. It's well published live on the Facebook. And there are so many others. The thousands and lakhs of the people came out, throng on the street of Delhi and Haryana. And still till date, I'm telling you, on the railway tracks, hundreds of people are walking on foot from one place to the other place. But there are no cases. They are not being treated. They are not checked. There are no tests. They are not blamed. They are not stopped. And On the Baisakhi day, inside a Gurdwara, there was a gathering. An MLA has conducted a birthday party. Another MLA has conducted a Tehami party, and the Preeti Bhoj, and all this is going on all across the country. But it is only the Tablighi Jamaat, and under the name of Tablighi Jamaat, they are targeting the Muslim community. And that's why one lynching there was one Muslim boy lynched in Delhi itself. There are 200 people who either they have committed suicide or they are died of a hunger. No media is showing all these things. While the 300 people are reported to be dead. So by the corona, the 200 other people within this month has been died. 39 has committed suicide, and other are died either because of the violence or of the hunger. But nobody is talking about it. So they are to watch of all such kind of allegation and report. They have only one name, either the Muslim community or the Pakistan, Muslim or Pakistan. When they talk about it, they satisfy their own constituency, their own 30%, around 30% of people who are happy with such kind of sloganeering, and they are the pro BJP, the hardcore Hindutva brigade. And they are happy with that, but rest of the country is not happy with that.
Dr. Rehmani, it is really gut-wrenching that the lynchings are going on, and there are so many other deaths which are happening because of hunger in India. And you also mentioned that there are other communities, including Jains, Hindus, Sikhs, and Christians. They are going on with their congregations, and as of today, they are carrying out with their religious activities as well. Mr. Srivastav, when we talk about lynching, as Dr. Rehmani has just alluded to, one boy has been lynched to death in India just because he was a Muslim. What about the intellectual lynching of the Jamaat people who are invited to participate in the talk shows on the mainstream channels in India? And then we see the clear bias and prejudice by the journalists who are hosting those shows.
Unfortunately, Hami, the national media is fully, in the grip of the government, and they have become the government loudspeaker. The fact is, the real journalism is that we should question the government and not the opposition. Here in India, it is reverse. They ask the question to the opposition, and they talk as a voice of the government of India. So that's a problem. Yes, that does happen. That there are, what Dr. Rehmani has rightly mentioned, there are several congregations going on at so many places, and there are so many people are assembling. Even when Mr. Modi called on 5th of April for making from people to asking on the balcony, making some sound with the thalis and the spoons and all to motivate the health workers, doctors, nurses, professionals for that matter. The people came on the streets. They were dancing. They were making big julus on the roads and showing as if the corona has been defeated altogether. So those kind of things were there, but they kept on counting these. They were marking people that these people had attended the Tablighi Jamaat Markaz in Delhi, and they are that's why these are the people who are spreading the virus over here.
Dr. Rehmani, don't you think such a witch hunt which is being launched against Muslims specifically will actually exacerbate the outbreak and would make it difficult for the authorities and the government in India to contain it?
Yeah, if the government of India goes this way, we have warned the government, if you are going this way, you are not sincere and you are not concentrating to how to fight this problem. Or rather, if you are criminalizing it, that will clearly mean that you are trying to push the thousands and the lakhs of the people into the mouth of the death. So you see here in Delhi, in Lucknow, in Uttar Pradesh, most of the mosques are sealed. It is sealed illegally. It was decided that all the mosque, there will be 4 or 5%. They will stay inside. They will offer the Jamaat, and there will be the azan. But now wherever they have announced the hotspot, they seal the mosque, and the hotspots are all around the mosque. If you find the exact location, they are around the mosque. So this way is still. Now the Tabligh, how long they can take the Tabligh Jamaat name? Now that name is going, it is getting down that the Tablighi Jamaat name, they are not able to take, because now out of 10,000 people, it is around 20%. This percentage will keep on going down every day. So they are not able to take the name of Tablighi Jamaat so much, but still they have spread such a venomous condition in the country that most of the vegetable and fruit sellers who are Muslims are unable to enter the Hindu localities, and if by mistake they are going inside, they are being beaten by the local population.
Even
So
vendors and the fruit and the vegetable sellers who happen to be Muslims are facing quite a difficult time at this point in time in India because of the spread of the hatred by the Indian authorities led by BJP government, and also through a sinister campaign that is being unleashed at this point in time on mainstream channels in India. Mr. Ravi Srivastav, analyst, joining us from Mumbai, and Dr. Tasleem Ahmed, Rehmani, analyst and President, Muslim Political Council of India, joined us from Delhi. Thank you very much for your time. Now, the people at the hem in India must realize that this deadly virus knows no boundaries and political and religious affiliations. It hits everyone hard equally. So to combat this crisis, unity is required rather than a witch hunt against the Muslims. With this note, we come to the end of today's News Wire. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back tomorrow with more in-depth analysis on the major happenings from around the world. Stay tuned.